Are you being delusional with where you spend your time in your business? Business coach Jennifer Sheffel shares with us today the key elements of being successful. Jennifer, thanks for joining us today. Why business coaching for you?
It is such a pleasure, first of all, to be here with you, Michelle. I can't even express how happy I am to be here. But business coaching it made sense because my background is accounting. So I'm a suffering accountant. Imagine that. All type A in an accountant body. But I went to the university studying accounting. And why am I doing this for one instead of many? And really lifting up our community and getting us to a whole nother level that a lot of us never even thought was possible. So that's why I decided on business coaching, and never mind the benefit of my own self of having freedom. I lost my brother 4 years ago, and he wasn't even 40 years old. And when I stood back and I thought about what am I doing day to day? How can I be more relevant and with my family who really matters to me most? I really needed to take charge and to put my own life in my own hands. So becoming a business owner made total sense. And then, of course, Actioncoach came across my desk while I was really evaluating my pros and cons and my purpose in life. So business coaching became the piece that really we moved forward with. And really taking all these business tidbits of strategic planning, business planning, gap analysis, all the things that we don't necessarily love to do, but it's necessary to grow wealth and to get us to that next level. It made total sense.
So with working with so many businesses over the years, what do you find kind of is the key to success for business owners?
So first of all, focus, because we're all over the place and there's so many demands on us, whether it's professionally, personally. Owning a business is very hard, and having the right mindset, I have learned as a business owner, is the number one thing that we just overlook. Because if we're not in the right mindset or have the right headspace, it's hard to do anything because you're just stuck. So making sure that the mindset is there, but really the focus, it drives intention. It brings you clarity and takes you to that next level that you really need. But sometimes you don't even realize that you're not focused until you have somebody like a business coach that really brings you to the next level.
So for business owners listening, we know that we need to have focus to be successful. But what's the first practical step? How do you know what to focus on and when?
So I love this question. A lot of times we always want to start with just doing a time study because time management is very hard. But where are you spending all of your time? Are you just like running after shiny objects after shiny objects? Sometimes it's just asking the questions and really understanding, where are you losing focus? Is it because you're not motivated? Is it because you're just in a scarcity mindset? A lot of times, sometimes that happens too. So really doing a time study and understanding what's going on. But maybe it's not just time. Maybe it's just where you're at that point in your life.
So for business owners, when it comes to doing that time study to work out, where are they spending their time? What do you see as the biggest kind of time waster for business owners?
Oh my gosh. So there are so many. It's hard to put it in one necessary bucket. Of course, there's a lot of things that we do that are just delusional, where we'll be focused on working on a great example, marketing. And it's not even getting us the ROI that it needs to get us. But yet we're spending so many hours on marketing, whether it's setting up my CRM because now I hear I have to do this, or wait, what about Google SEO? Well, now this is broke. Well, what about that? Well, what about this? Wait, why are you trading your time when you should be having an expert doing these things for you? So a lot of times that's the other thing. When you're starting to talk about algorithms and all these other different universes, really, when you come to social media, and maybe you're a baby boomer and you're lucky to turn on a computer, should you really be messing with your marketing? Let's get somebody else to do that for you and have them report out. But by the way, if they're not getting you that ROI, we need to find somebody who does, because marketing has to pay for itself.
So there's a bit of a conflicting kind of, message out there in the marketplace where it's like we should learn the things that we don't know before we go and hire people so that we become the expert and know what they should be doing. Because otherwise, I would love your thoughts on this, because otherwise you end up going and hiring all these different people, businesses, experts, gurus that are meant to be great at something, but then 12 months down the track, you realize, or 6 months, you've spent all this money and it hasn't been a successful strategy. So tell me what you think around that thought.
I love it. So many things. One, a business coach is a great person that you can also bounce these ideas off of and let others be the expert. It's great to at least have maybe like a micro credential, like a little class that you can actually do, kind of like the Cliff Notes, to just be a little dangerous. Because if you're just asking a couple questions, that's going to really set you apart, and it's going to make people think differently as to how they're doing your marketing. But really leveraging a business coach, I know I have probably 3, if not 5 really good people that do SEO and marketing and all the things. And maybe one's not your person, but then maybe the second one is. But we need to make sure that we get you into the right spot. But having that circle of influence that's surrounding you with the resources that are required and that you really need is so essential.
And even, if you do hire people, I think it's a mindset shift too. If you do have these experiences where it hasn't necessarily got the result you wanted, it's still learning. And learning is important in business. And that's how we learn, by failing in many cases.
Yes, the biggest learnings come from failing. Absolutely. And even though we always talk about being successful and we want everything to work out, really what we want to do is to be quick to fail. Because then we can say, okay, I learned a lot of things, but I'm moving on and I'm upping my game, because guess what? Because of that failure, you learn certain things. Now you got great questions that you can now ask as you move forward, but you didn't continue to throw bad money after bad. You need to really lift yourself up and move forward, and don't allow yourself to reel. That's where a business coach comes into play too.
So I'd love you to share a story of a client that you've worked with that's had some success, and, where were they at when they first started working with you?
So there are so many. Do you want one in particular in regards to marketing or just in general?
In general, whatever.
So I have a commercial cleaning client, and she gave me the best testimonial the other day. And we've only been together for 6 months. And when she first started out, I actually got this story from a third party, which I love even more. But he's like, I was talking to her and she's distracted. She's picking up her phone and she's just all over the place. And she's like, okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah. We'll get back together for another one-on-one. But then he sat down with her maybe 3 months later, and she's just like, oh, okay. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that about your business. Yeah, no, that's really... So she was engaged. She was asking questions. She was curious. She was not derailed, and she was just focused. Again, back to the whole focus thing. But the cool thing is, in 6 months, the testimonial she gave me last week, Jen, since working with you, you've helped me triple my business. And because she didn't even look at her numbers before, because she was told as a female, females don't do math, by her grandfather. And when they would sit down and start to go through any kind of financial anything, he's like, you don't need to know this. You're a female. I don't want you to do math, and I will just take care of you forever and ever and ever. Well, her grandfather has passed. And now, because of COVID, she was laid off and she's start her commercial cleaning business. I have uncovered the trauma that she has, didn't even realize it, but started asking questions. And of course, yes, I had then said, let's take it in baby steps. And so I started talking to her about the 5 ways and really leaning in and helping her through things. Now, the trauma piece, please go get a therapist. Let's talk through this. But as far as really understanding your numbers, you have to. And I can tell you, as an accountant, females do math and we're really good at it. So that is so not true. And she is really succeeding and going leaps and bounds. So I'm beyond proud of her.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's so interesting, the beliefs that we can take on subconsciously that we don't even realize from whoever, that we were told. And so, to be able to, by asking the right questions to uncover that, can help you move forward. So that's amazing.
Yes. Well, her palms would get all sweaty and everything. And she's like, Jen, I'm really hot. And I'm like, why? Let's evaluate this. And thank goodness, because of Bruce Wilson, I said, take yourself out of the position and put yourself in a bubble. I don't want you to go through this yourself, but think about, why do you feel this way? What's coming up? What feelings? And then she went back to where her grandfather told her, women don't do math. So
Wow.
she felt like she was betraying him by doing this.
It's interesting when we tune into our body, the physiological reactions of how we're feeling can often tell a story that you can't sometimes articulate.
Yeah. Well, and the unfortunate piece is sometimes it then takes us into self-sabotage. And we don't even realize that we're doing it. That's the scary part because it is so subconscious. But until we start to realize it and really lean into it and become more curious, that's the only way we can. And then really fight that.
And you mentioned you work with a lot of female business owners. What do you find is there a difference between, whether male or female, we have certain belief systems, but what do you find, is there a common trait for the female business owners that you work with that is different to men?
So many of the women that I have worked with have been told at some point, oh, you can't do that because you're a female. And it's really unfortunate because it does allow us to think otherwise. But the other really cool piece is women entrepreneurs, they're a force to be reckoned with. We think about things sometimes differently, not always, but a lot of times we will evaluate different situations and look at them a little bit differently. Meaning, yes, sometimes we're caretakers, and that's the role that some of us have taken on. But when somebody's not maybe at the successful level that we know that they're capable of being at, we start to evaluate, well, what are they maybe falling short on? And then we start to think about trainings or what other educational pieces can we get them in order to set them apart. And I'm not saying that men don't do that too, because they do. But a lot of times women want to help before we just cut bait, move on. So it is a very interesting concept. And because many of us, I grew up in manufacturing industry as a female and in finance and accounting. So a lot of times I was the only female sitting there at the leadership table and really evaluating things. But you got to have a voice. You got to speak up. And a lot of females don't because they've been told they're not allowed when they were younger. So really leaning into that is important.
And so how much does courage play a part in that? And for females listening, what are some of the things that can help them have more courage to speak up and also have a belief that you can have it all? We have been programmed that, and this is true for many men as well, there's been a massive shift, hasn't it, in terms of, the roles that we play in life. But there is this belief system that many women do have that, you have to sacrifice your career or your dreams to, whether it's raise a family, caretaker, whatever it might be. Or if you really are driven, then I can't, take care of the kids or have a family.
Yeah. So courage can also come in by leaning on others. I can honestly tell you that there are men and women that helped lift me up in those boardrooms and made me part of that leadership team, plain and simple. Did I do it all by my own? No. But there were definitely people that were always there that I was able to lean on, and they helped lift me up. So having the courage to not only seek out others, but ask for a mentor and really lean in on some people, because the people that are already there where you dream of being are great people to really surround yourself with and to take you to that next level, because they've been there and they've done it. I had an outstanding, beautiful lady who was a CIO, CFO, and this was 15 years ago. She graduated from Harvard, and she would turn men on their heels. And she was so powerful, and it's because she was just brilliant. And she wouldn't really tell them, this is the way you got to do it, or this, that, or no. She would just actually ask questions. And then and she would maybe lead them to certain outcomes. And before you know it, they're spun around. They're like, oh, yeah, you're right. So really learning from others that have been there or are there is super powerful. And a lot of them do. They take you under your wing. Is it easy? No. And will it be brutally honest and truthful? Yes. That's also what business coaching is about too. We want you to be successful. Is it always easy? Absolutely not. It's hard as hell. But you got to hear the true message in order to elevate yourself to get you to that next level.
Yeah, I love that you shared that some of your best champions have been men that empowered you to kind of have that voice. And I really resonate with that too. Many of my mentors have been amazing men that have encouraged me to step into certain roles. And so it doesn't always have to be, a female that is, the person in your corner, that it can be anyone.
Yeah. No, men love to lift one another up. There's also a lot of women that do too. But really seeking out people who you're going to take that hard, honest feedback from, and you're going to be like, I never want to disappoint this person, is a very good mentor. Because if you never want to disappoint them, then it's a really good person. Because when they tell you the God's honest truth, you're going to do what you got to do in order to move forward.
So you're probably going to come back to focus on this question, but, how can we have it all? How can we do all of the things and manage everything? So, sometimes it feels like we're spinning plates in the air or juggling balls. How can we do it and have it all?
Well, of course, bites of the elephant. But I would also say continuously staying curious and always learning. You can't stop. We just got off a call as far as just building wealth. Do I have it all? No, I'm still learning. But that's the other thing. Sometimes as we get older, we're like, oh, I'm too old to learn anymore. No, you're not. No, continue to learn, and that'll get you to earn. So, we have a great saying, you got to learn before you earn. So in order to have what you want, you got to learn these things. So you got to really hang out with those that you can really soak that information in from, but you got to be open. And you also need to seek those individuals out, whether it's a mentor or somebody that'll get you to that next level. I can go through Identity Iceberg, Be Do Have, and all these other great things that we do as coaches, but it's honestly just bites of the elephant. You got to take bits and pieces and continue to move forward.
So Brad Sugars, our founder, as you know, has a great quote that says, business doesn't get easier, you just get better at business. And I think you can replace that word business with anything in life. Creating wealth doesn't get easier. You just get better at creating wealth. And that would be the same for anything, marketing, whatever, finances. So for people listening, you mentioned Be Do Have. Can you walk us through what Be Do Have is?
I love this because I actually talk to my kids about this often. So I was 2 when I had my kids. And so my daughter is 18 and she's in New York City studying dance. And I literally texted her this, if not yesterday, maybe the day before. But I had told her, look, the person you want to be, you have to learn certain things in order to be who you want to be. That is your due. You've got to do things in order to elevate yourself, in order to have that professional gig that you really want. And right now she is at a school up in New York City studying dance, and it's not easy. But you know what? She's paying her bills too. So there are certain things. And actually today she was out with her resume going into other restaurants in order to get more work because she has to have more money to pay for her rent and, heaven forbid, live too. So in her situation, she has a dream as to what she wants. But who she has to be is not the person who's going to deliver on those goals and dreams. But in order to get there, she has to study. She has to work very hard and do things very differently than maybe our average people. Because there are people that are looking at her like, you're dancing from 9 to 5, and then you're going to go out and you're going to work at a restaurant as a waitress. And you're going to do that 5 days a week. Yes, because hard work always pays off. And I have to do what I got to do in order to make this dream come true. So.
Yeah, and especially in New York City. That's amazing. So excited for her.
Thank you. At 18, she graduated on May 19th, and we were putting her on a plane June 5th.
So was she born with that dream to be a dancer? I mean, are we all born with that dream? And how do our dreams kind of, disappear?
Yeah, so I don't think she was born with it. She had continued to evaluate her curiosity and really started to think, what else is there? What else could I do? How else could I push myself? But she's always one of those that's just naturally talented, where I just want to smack her a time or two because I never was. But it's a very beautiful thing that she's really leaned into. And people empowered her and really mentored her that you can have anything in life. So having those people around you to think outside of the box is so important. And you've really got to surround yourself by those people. And if people are degrading you or pushing you down, you probably need a different group of people. So I've found even myself being a business owner, I would not have bought into Actioncoach at all if I didn't have people lifting me up. My husband is a huge supporter. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. So definitely surrounding yourself, your environment is so incredibly important. You have to make sure that people are lifting you.
Okay, so you've shared that, the key to kind of success is have a focus. Surround yourself by whether it's a coach or people who empower you, encourage you to go after your goals and dreams.
Yes.
So change your environment if that's not the case. What else? You've talked about identity. So kind of what do you need to do in order to have? Who do you need to be? Is there anything else in terms of the key to success?
So discipline is so incredibly important. I had never even thought about discipline as it's something that we do just naturally and we get in a habit of doing. But when you want to change who you are and maybe elevate yourself, there's certain disciplines you have to put in place. And I never realized that until I became a business owner. Your morning routine, what you do in order to get yourself ready for the day so that then you can be on go mode each and every time and be ready. It's something you've got to really be disciplined about, whether it's I ams. You have to lift yourself up. It's not always up to others. You have to motivate yourself and figure out how. Whether that's go for an icy, chilly walk each and every day. I went walking through the snow just yesterday and it felt so good. But having that fresh, crisp air is something that's great for me. And I would encourage everyone to figure out what's that thing that you have to have each and every day that's really going to make you think clearly. Have the focus because that's going to bring you clarity throughout your day and push you forward.
You mentioned IAMs. Can you share with listeners what the IAMs are?
So I always thought IAMs were just something pie in the sky and how could this possibly work? But it does. So IAMs are, if you're wanting to elevate yourself and think differently, you need to believe it yourself. So by repetition and saying I am a business owner is an example of one. Because the funny thing is, when I bought my firm, I would say I am a business coach because I'm not an accountant anymore. Wait a minute, I'm more than just a business coach. I am a business owner. So then you keep elevating yourself. But then, even just like what we were talking about in the wealth class, instead of I am a millionaire, I'm a billionaire. And the crazy thing is, when you look at these every 90 days, because I require my clients to do so, you start to mark out the ones that have already come true. And then you replace them with things that you're really aspiring to do now. So maybe it's I'm going to be a keynote speaker for an event and I'm going to make $20,000 in doing it. Great. Let's do it and say it every single day until it comes true. Now you may need to tweak it if you start having all this like feedback that no, you're not. Well, I am working toward, because that's exactly what you're doing. But you will be one day. It's already happened. You just got to show up.
I love that you shared tweak it and say I am working towards, because it's that coming back to the be, do, have. The current version of you doesn't know or doesn't identify with those goals and dreams that you have or know how to be that person. So that's kind of, isn't it, one of the purposes of the I am statements is to program your subconscious. But when that resistance does start to come up, to tweak it with those couple of little words of working towards. I love that.
Yes, because not everything that you believe today is necessarily truly a whole honesty what you believe right now. Okay, fine. You got to dream big. You can't let people smush you or crush you. It's just an evaluation and making sure that your mind stays clear on what the goals are at hand. So you got to continue to elevate yourself, because that's the name of the game. And you got to learn more.
Is you mentioned be curious, is that, we hear a lot, at Actioncoach with clients we first start working with and businesses we talk to, their dreams aren't that big. They often have got a belief system that they can't have, something truly amazing that they may have originally desired. So when it comes to thinking bigger, dreaming bigger, that's one of the purposes of having a coach, is that, we can stretch the thinking to what's really possible. But for listeners, what's something that they can do to kind of, what's that next level?
So one, you always need to reevaluate yourself. I had a client that achieved their 3-year goal in 1 year, and they thought they were dreaming big. And I was so excited when I was like, guess what, guys? We have to redo everything. And this time, dream even bigger. So as we continue to grow up, we continue to get squished on our dreams and our goals. And so then we start to degrade what we think is possible instead of really shooting for the stars. And we've got to make sure that we continue to have that mindset. I love how John had just recommended, hey, think about where you were and what you wanted to achieve when you were maybe in middle school, before the realities of adulting really hit you and you had to like downplay what all your goals and everything were. So really looking back and thinking about, as a kid, I thought for sure that I'd live in a house that had a spiral staircase and a grand piano and like all these really cool things. Not that I can even play, but it would be pretty cool just to have a piano in the house. And I think it would just collect clothing. But anyway, just really continuing to stay real with who you were as a kid and what did you dream? And just thinking back to that, I mean, it just, I don't know, it gives me goosebumps just to be a kid again. When the kids were growing up, there was this Disney cartoon. It was called Backyardigans. And they would go out into the backyard and like all of a sudden like dream up these big like pyramids and I'm an emperor and empress and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it was just so adorable. And I loved when the kids watched it because it taught them to dream big instead of, no, you're only worth or you're only able to do this or that. No, sky's the limit. And actually, that's not even true. SpaceX totally proves that. Like, there's no limit. Like, the galaxy's probably not even a limit anymore. So anyway, but
Mine was, to own a McDonald's, because McDonald's was like the once a year treat. And I just thought, I just want to own a McDonald's so I can eat McDonald's whenever I want. Not a very healthy option, but it's funny.
And now look at you.
Isn't it funny when you
have a franchise? So
yeah.
You have more than a franchise. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting when you do play with that idea of, just creating some space to think back when you were a kid. What were those dreams what if in a world of infinite possibilities, what could I have? What could I do? It's fun.
Like even bouncing, like as kids, a lot of times we would have these grandiose plans because we hung out with so-and-so, or, they'd say something and then we'd want to one up it. And then it's, oh, what if we did this together? Guess how businesses come together? Guess how we get to these big plans and really have fun? Leverage one another. It doesn't have to be just, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that and I got to do. No. Make it fun and bring some people along. And guess what? Their dreams and goals, make sure they're bigger than what yours are even, because then you'll really have a whole lot of fun in dreaming together.
So I want to come back to being curious. So what's some of the ways that we can be curious? We just talked about one around kind of dreaming and thinking back to when we were younger. What are some other kind of questions around being curious that we can ask ourselves?
So the number one that I absolutely love and I have just completely leaned into, instead of having an I know mindset, always do the isn't that interesting? So if there's something that I'm not sure about or I just don't know, I will make sure that I'm questioning from curiosity and not judgmental. Ted Lasso was an amazing series. And as soon as he had said that, I was like, oh, that's so much power. But yeah, staying curious and open-minded is just something that's going to take you to a whole nother level that you didn't even know was possible. So there are so many things out there where I'll be like, yeah, I know. Do you? That person may have arrived to that conclusion in a completely different way than you. And there's probably steps within that process that you're missing out on. So really asking people, how did you get to this conclusion? Or can you tell me more? My gosh, that sounds like so much fun. I would love to hear more. I mean, I do at least 5 different coffees a week with people. And it's really just about that. Tell me how you got to where you're at and tell me about your aspirations. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And so leaning in with curiosity and just asking people and being curious is just so powerful.
What's another example of a client that you've worked with that kind of has had that transformation?
So I have, she has, and it's another female, but she was a salon owner and super adorable, of course, all salon owners are. And she only had so many seats. And I told her, I'm like, Sarah, you're going to top out because you only have so many seats for stylists to come in and do hair. Have you ever thought about another location? Jen, I can't do that. If I had another location, it'd have to be right next door because I'd have to be able to see it and to be a part of it and to be there. I'm like, okay, well, let's keep our eyes open and, just kind of ask around. But I think that would be something that would be really cool. I kid you not. I think it was like a month later, there was a studio a couple doors down, and she walked a different way that day and noticed there's a for rent sign in this beautiful location. And it was twice the size. And she's like, Jen, I just don't know how I'm going to afford it. I'm like, yeah, you do. because you're going to have more chairs and you're going to have more stylists that are going to fill those chairs. Well, here, part of that studio, it also had another branch off to the side. So it was like 2 locations in one. And 2 of her stylists said, you know what, Sarah, I want to go and I want to rent that piece from you. And we're going to have pop-up shops where we're going to do Botox. We're going to have fashion shows. We're going to have all sorts of artists come in, sell earrings and some really cool stuff, do some eyelashes, waxing. It's going to be so much fun. She did wind up signing the lease for the location. The 2 stylists still to this day have the other location that they sublease from her. And she is starting to get out of her chair because at her young age, she's already having issues with her hands because of the curling irons and everything. So we need to get her out of the chair herself, which is her primary source of income, so that then the other stylists can continue to fuel her lifestyle. And she's now also investing and doing real estate. And so diversifying her portfolio personally as well. So it's been a really, really cool story, but being there even for the grand opening and, doing the cheers with the champagne and just what you never thought was possible became possible. And by the way, this was only within 1 year. So
1 year. Wow, that's amazing.
it was a 1 year. The universe completely put this location right in front of her. And we still celebrate birthdays and all sorts of celebrations. Yeah. She just had an anniversary last week. So it's always fun because it's more than just being a business coach. You become friends because you do stay curious and life is a real thing. So these relationships are deep. It's not just a business venture at all. It's way more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's interesting when you think about, people might have a perception of what a business coach is, but it's a cheerleader, it's a mentor, it's someone that can question your thinking, help you stretch your dreams and goals and be there for you to celebrate the wins. And so that's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing and congratulations on all the success.
Thank you. The best part is they'll call you out too.
Interesting.
So I give them that freedom. I'm like, hey, if you think that I'm not pushing myself, you're to call me out. But if you're going to call me out, you better be ready to hold me accountable for it too. So,
love it. Yeah, I mean, that's a part of it too, isn't it? It's the accountability because, if you don't have somebody to sort of say, hey, you said you wanted to do this, have you, how's that going? Or have you taken those steps to the doing part of, being able to achieve those things that you want to have. Yeah. So the accountability is really important as well.
Absolutely. And there's some coaches out there where they may only do the planning every 90 days. But, well, that's great. I'm happy that you're dreaming and you're figuring it out. But is it in front of you? Is it right there where you can put your fingers on it and you see exactly what you had laid out week over week? Let alone is somebody holding you accountable to, are you doing those things? Because if they're not, you're probably losing focus and you need to have that clarity because then, and maybe it's just not working anymore because you already outgrew it. Cool. Again, let's tweak it and make it to where it's going to work. But if it's something that's not important to you, then we need to make sure that we get to where it is important to you.
Love that. So, Jennifer, 3 questions for you. Favorite book that you've ever read or listened to?
So coming out of the manufacturing industry, I would say The Gap and the Gain. It's such a powerful book. And I've read it, I think now 3 different times. And that's probably within the past year and a half because we can get so stuck, but then think about all the achievements that we've had and don't get so focused on, I don't have this. Okay. Well, maybe you're at the place that you need to be because there's additional learnings that need to be had. So really reflecting on those gains that you've had within the journey is so powerful.
Best mentor or coach for you?
So I already alluded to, I had this beautiful individual. And so her name was Coco. But then also Mark Holmes, he really lifted me up when I was, oh my gosh, I started at General Cable 10 and a half years before I was even at Kramer. So this was probably, I'm dating myself, like 20 years ago. And when you have these people that take you under their wing and really lift you up, and I was this little brat that thought I knew everything. So, but they quickly showed me, like, maybe you really just don't, but here's what you can do in order to get better and believe in yourself was something that's super powerful. And that's how I became even a manager and leading teams and really went to a whole nother level and now running my own business. So it's super powerful, like super empowering and powerful when you harness those relationships along the way. And mentors, they organically happen. It's not something that you just set out and say, hey, I want you to be my mentor. It doesn't have that kind of relationship or push that you're probably really looking for. So really lean into some of the relationships that you have out there.
Best piece of advice you ever received?
So there are so many people that want to tell you how to do things or how to do things better. So take what's going to feed you and then throw away the rest. So if it's not fueling you or feeding you, okay, put it into the can, keep moving forward. So, but don't tell them, yeah, I don't think that's how it works. Just, okay, thank you. And then move on.
Love it. Jennifer, thank you so much for the sharing and the wisdom today.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. Okay, so what is one great thing that you learned today?
Well, I love that. You're holding me accountable now. One great thing I learned today, it's being curious. It's being curious and, asking more questions, being open to being curious, more time to think back to childhood, and have fun with it.
Yeah. So another great book that I really love is Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. It's such a great book because as a coach, we're expected to know how to ask all these questions. No, again, it's a learned technique. I had no idea. So that book really helped me ask bigger and better questions and to think differently in order to be a business coach. So it was powerful. So,
love that.
Well, thank you for the time, Michelle. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Michelle Adams, your host here. Hats off to you for committing to your learning by listening to this podcast. And if you'd like some help implementing some of these strategies, then click the link in the description to find your local action coach. They can help you put these strategies into action and take your business and your life to the next level. In the meantime, like and subscribe so that you're the first to get our next episode. We'll see you soon.